Should Kamala Harris run for California governor in 2026 after polls show her leading? I'm going to give that a big no. Yeah.
She's had her chance several times.
She should run far, far away.
Yeah, I think Kamala Harris would make a great president of a university. Why put her out there? It looked like when your dad goes with the young woman to help buy a car, you know, when dad comes along. I mean, why? She hadn't done an interview in so long. Or maybe that's the strategy. They look like a married couple. They look like every interracial couple in every commercial. Maybe that's the.
No, but they messed it up because they didn't do the optics right because she looked like she was only 2 feet tall and he was up front looking like Frosty the Snowman. So it kind of failed, but I see what they were going for.
Just protect Plan B. She is Plan B. Harris would be the first woman president, first black woman president, and first Asian president. But I don't vote for who will be the first. I vote for who will win. And for whatever reason, Harris has never been popular. You can count the number of delegates she won in the 2020 primaries on one hand, as long as that hand has no finger. In 3 years as vice president, she's been quieter than an electric car. Sometimes life isn't fair. It's not fair that she's not popular. She's intelligent and accomplished, and in fact was put in charge of the border. And look at how... Okay, bad example.
Well, Bill Maher is back at it again, taking aim at the woke mob. And this time, his target is none other than the queen of woke herself, Kamala Harris. With his signature smirk and a razor-sharp takedown, Maher calmly, but absolutely ruthlessly, picked apart Kamala's latest train wreck of a moment. So, what exactly did Kamala say that had Maher unloading on her? And how did his response leave her scrambling for cover? Oh, trust me, you don't want to miss this one.
Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw is about 2%.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I am not afraid of good ideas where they occur, Anderson.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything. We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our...
Buckle up, because it's about to get brutal. The woke mob just can't stop lying. They've lied about everything. The economy, science, education, immigration, you name it. It's their favorite pastime. So, it's no shocker that Kamala Harris is at it again, this time spinning a tale about the border wall. Remember when she called Trump's wall stupid? Yeah, well, turns out she wants to build one too. But here's where it gets downright hilarious. Not only is she pushing for the very thing she mocked.
He was a very different person on the stage 4 years ago when you debated him. You must, I mean, that's certainly true, is it not?
Anderson, the point has to be performance in terms of what a president does. A president who incites an insurrection against the Capitol. No, but I got the point that you're making about a 1.5 hour debate tonight. I'm talking about 3.5 years of performance in work that has been historic.
I mean, can you say that you are not concerned at all having watched the president's performance tonight?
It was a slow start. That's obvious to everyone. I'm not going to debate that point. I'm talking about the choice in November.
But she actually had the audacity to insult Trump for suggesting it in the first place. The hypocrisy is off the charts. Not only does Kamala Harris lie, but she's also a master of obfuscation. She dances around questions, dodges straight answers, and buries any real response under a mountain of incoherent words, word salad. And let's face it, she's banking on the fact that her friendly left-leaning interviewers won't call her out. Even if they do catch on, they'll just edit her rambling nonsense into something semi-coherent. But here's the real shocker. CNN actually aired her gaffes uncut. Yes, CNN, the network that practically carries water for this administration. When even the woke media gets tired of woke propaganda, you know it's bad.
The climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction.
Maybe even they couldn't find a way to make her sound competent this time. Sometimes, CNN had to cut her interview short because her word salad was so cringe, like the one you're about to watch. Harris has never been popular because she just can't connect with people. No matter how many interviews she gives, no matter how many staged photo ops she attends, she always comes off as forced, awkward, and completely out of touch. She speaks in empty platitudes, laughs at inappropriate moments, and delivers word salads so incoherent that even her own supporters cringe. And let's be honest, her unpopularity isn't just a Republican talking point. Even Democrats aren't enthusiastic about her. Her approval ratings have been in the gutter since day one, and every attempt to rebrand her as a competent leader has flopped. Why? Because you can't fake authenticity. You can't manufacture
Just protect Plan B. She is Plan B. Harris would be the first woman president, first black woman president, and first Asian president. But I don't vote for who will be the first. I vote for who will win. And for whatever reason, Harris has never been popular. You can count the number of delegates she won in the 2020 primaries on one hand, as long as that hand has no fingers. In 3 years as vice president, she's been quieter than an electric car. Sometimes life isn't fair. It's not fair that she's not popular. She's intelligent and accomplished, and in fact was put in charge of the border. And look at how... Okay, bad example.
charisma. And you definitely can't lead a country when you can't even connect with its people. The worst part? Instead of focusing on the real issues affecting everyday Americans, she built her entire campaign around identity politics. It was never about leadership, policies, or fixing the country's problems. It was all about checking boxes. Yes, she would have been the first black female president. But how does that put food on people's tables? How does that lower gas prices, stop crime, or secure the border? Sadly, Maher doesn't think Kamala Harris has a bright future in politics. Maher doesn't mince words, does he? When he goes in, with his signature smirk and razor-sharp wit. He delivers brutal truths wrapped in sarcasm so cutting, it slices right through the nonsense. And this time, his target was none other than Kamala Harris. He didn't just criticize her, he eviscerated her, piece by piece. He tore apart her empty rhetoric, blatant hypocrisy, and her inability to answer a simple question without spiraling into a word salad disaster. It wasn't just a takedown, it was a masterclass.
Should Kamala Harris run for California governor in 2026 after polls show her leading? I'm going to give that a big no. Yeah.
She's had her chance several times.
She should run far, far away.
Yeah, I think Kamala Harris would make a great president of a university.
In exposing political fraudulence. But here's the thing, this isn't some right-wing commentator going after Kamala. This is Bill Maher, a liberal who's been in the game for decades. And even he couldn't stomach the absurdity anymore. That's how bad it's gotten. And the best part? He did it calmly, no shouting, no theatrics. Just cold, hard logic delivered with the kind of smirk that says, "Come on, Kamala, even you don't believe this nonsense." When even Maher is calling her out, you know she's in serious trouble. Because at the end of the day, there's only so much gaslighting the American people can take before reality slaps them in the face. And Maher just did the slapping for them. Unfortunately, CNN isn't the only media outlet that has noticed Harris's incoherent ramblings. Here's what CBS discovered. Can you imagine Kamala Harris as President of the United States? Seriously, picture it. Imagine her standing before the United Nations, delivering one of her signature word salad specials, rambling in circles while world leaders sit there, struggling to make sense of what they just heard. Now, imagine her in a high-stakes bilateral meeting, trying to negotiate with China, Russia, or Iran, only to start cackling off.
The work that we do diplomatically with the leadership of Israel is an ongoing pursuit around making clear our principles. Well, let's start with this. On this subject, the aid that we have given Israel allowed Israel to defend itself against 200 ballistic missiles. that were just meant to attack the Israelis and the people of Israel. And I think that is the most recent example of why what we do to assist in their defense around military aid is important. And when we think about the threat that Hamas, Hezbollah presents, Iran, I think that it is without any question our imperative to do what we can to allow Israel to defend itself against those kinds of attacks.
Awkwardly when pressed on a tough question. We'd be done for. The embarrassment wouldn't just be national, it would be global. Our allies would cringe. Our adversaries would smirk. And America's reputation as a world leader would take a nosedive. Because if she can't even handle a softball interview without tripping over her own words, how on earth is she supposed to handle the nuclear codes? Leadership requires strength, vision, and the ability to communicate effectively. Kamala Harris has none of the above. A Harris presidency wouldn't just be a disaster. It would be an international joke. And unfortunately, we would be the punchline. Apparently, Kamala Harris doesn't just specialize in word salads, she also dabbles in happy hour speeches. Now, is there anything inherently wrong with that? Of course not. But I don't want a president who sounds like they pregame before addressing the nation. Now, I'm not saying she...
Let's go to a more typical Kamala speech. This is from last week. I know you miss her vacuous word salads. I miss them.
Because then what do we have left? And the way that I see it also is that when we think about like these moments where we see things that are being taken, but also let's see it as nature abhors a vacuum. So where there's a vacancy, then let's fill it.
Yes, let's do that, Kamala. Let's do that right after happy hour is finished.
Was actually drunk. But let's just say it sure looked like it. The slurred words. The exaggerated hand gestures. The sudden bursts of laughter at absolutely nothing. If you didn't know better, you'd think she just walked out of a bottomless mimosa brunch. And hey, maybe that's the secret behind her infamous word salads. Maybe all that incoherence isn't just bad communication. It's the aftereffects of one too many rounds of martinis. Okay, maybe that's a bit of a stretch. But then again, with the woke mob, nothing is out of bounds. Bill Maher's right. The sooner the Democratic Party stops pandering with identity politics and starts addressing the real needs of Americans, the better off they'll be. People aren't struggling to pay their bills because of a lack of diversity initiatives. They're struggling because of skyrocketing inflation, failing policies, and a government more focused on virtue signaling than actual solutions. But do you know what would really give their political campaign a boost? Getting rid of Kamala
Harris is replacing the vice president. She's not very popular. Didn't seem to work out. Here's the problem with the Democratic Party. They're so boxed in by identity politics that you cannot conceive of a Democratic ticket that doesn't have a woman, person of color on it, and pretty soon you're going to line up behind that gay Latino, and you're going to have, a deaf Eskimo.
Brunch. And hey, maybe that's the secret behind her infamous word salads. Maybe all that incoherence isn't just bad communication. It's the aftereffects of one too many rounds of martinis. Okay, maybe that's a bit of a stretch. But then again, with the woke mob, nothing is out of bounds. Bill Maher's right. The sooner the Democratic Party stops pandering with identity politics and starts addressing the real needs of Americans, the better off they'll be. People aren't struggling to pay their bills because of a lack of diversity initiatives. They're struggling because of skyrocketing inflation, failing policies, and a government more focused on virtue signaling than actual solutions. But do you know what would really give their political campaign a boost? Getting rid of Kamala Harris. Because she's a liability. Every time she opens her mouth, she either embarrasses herself or exposes the sheer incompetence of this administration. She was supposed to be a historic, groundbreaking vice president. But instead, she's become a punchline. And if Kamala Harris is the future of the Democratic Party, then that future is looking very bleak.